right, so let's get this show started. Please do talk to us across our feedback lines. Our SMS is 23059. The hashtag is Morning Live. Now, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has accused the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC Vice Chairperson Fahima Arafat Abdallah of attempting to influence the upcoming Magarini constituency by-elections in Kilifi County, scheduled for November 27th.
Gachagua alleged that Abdallah has been unlawfully submitting preferred names for presiding officers to senior county officials, a move he claims is aimed at tilting the electoral process in favor of certain candidates.
Speaking during a media engagement, the former deputy warned that failure to urgently address the allegations would further tarnish the commission's already strained public image.
He called on Abdallah to resign, arguing that their continued leadership undermines the integrity required to conduct free and fair elections ahead of the 2027 general election.
Gachagua described the November 27th by-elections as a litmus test for the IEBC, asserting that Kenyans will not accept a bungled electoral process.
Tumepata leo. Huyu vice chairman wa IEBC ameanza kuingilia uchaguzi wa Magarini. Ameenda pale kwa hoteli Malindi kukutana na governor anaitwa Mungaro na kupeana list ya presiding officers. Ndio waanze kuwa compromised. Huyu vice chairman wa commission ame-intimidate everybody. Amechukua list ya presiding officers, amepatia Mungaro, governor wa Kilifi, akijua ya kwamba hiyo uchaguzi ya Magarini inarudiwa because it was nullified by the high court because of irregularities. Ninaandika barua leo usiku, iende kwa chairman asubuhi kumuuliza ni kwa nini huyu vice chairman ameenda Magarini to meddle with that election. Hakuna commissioner anakuwa deployed kwao, wanakuwa deployed in different areas. Huyu hajakuwa deployed huko, ameenda huko, amelala huko kwa hoteli, na nitataja hiyo hoteli kwa hiyo barua. Ameanza to meddle with that election and will be demanding that all those presiding officers wabadilishwe. Na mimi nitauliza chairman, kama nyinyi you are only 4 months old in the office, kama huyu vice chairman wa commission ameanza kumedo na uchaguzi ya by election, Wakenya wataamini namna gani ya kwamba mnaweza simamia the general election? You know? So mimi nilikuwa nafikiria kama Rigathi Gachagua ya kwamba hii commissioners ya IEBC kama angekuwa watu werevu, wangesimamia hizi by election kwa njia ya usawa na haki, ndio Wakenya waanze kupata imani ya kwamba wanaweza waamini kusimamia uchaguzi mkuu. Lakini vile wameanza, Wakenya hawezi kuwa na amani na imani. Na mimi nataka niambie IEBC commissioner, if you try to meddle with the general election, you'll burn this country. Na nilisema siku moja watu wakajaribu kuniingilia. Wakenya pahali wamefika, they will not allow anybody to meddle with the general election. Kama vijana walijitokea wakakataa finance bill, jambo dogo tu na uchaguzi, ati Ruto anataka alazimishe watu ya Kenya, kutakuwa na shida. So mimi I'll write to the chairman of the IEBC in the morning. I'll do the letter tonight, itaenda asubuhi, nimpatie fax na anijibu, I address that matter. Because if we meddle with these by-elections, IEBC will lose credibility ya kwamba wananchi wanaweza amini hao kusimamia uchaguzi mkuu. Kwa sisi tunataka tuone, so far the returning officer in Narok has been very firm.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has publicly thrown his weight behind Leonard Wamuthende, the United Democratic Alliance candidate in the upcoming by-elections for Mbeere North constituency, during a rally and community engagement in Karerema, Evurore ward.
Speaking before a large gathering on Monday, Kindiki urged residents to rally behind Wamuthende, pressing his development agenda and promising that a vote for him would bring real change to the constituency.
Kindiki further assured residents that the government would provide adequate security across all polling stations to guarantee a peaceful and orderly voting process.
There is a reason. Kwa sababu mimi nimekuwa hapa kwa muda na nimemsikiza huyu Leonard wa Muthende akiongea. Wakati Leonard wa Muthende anaongea na wananchi, mimi nikisikiza haongei mambo ya fitina, haongei mambo ya kisirani, haongei mambo ya kuchemsha wananchi na mambo ya bure na mambo ya vita. Anaongea ile maono anaona itasongesha mbele North, isonge mbele mahali rokuwa alikuwa ameachia. Niguo kanateguo. Niguo kanateguo. Nema kanatema. Mimi nimesikiza huyu wa Muthende akiongea. Kila wakati anasema mambo ya basari. Watoto wetu wasome. Lakini nimesikia wale wanashindana na wa Muthende, nimewasikiza wakiongea vile vile. Na mimi nimesikia wale ambao wanashindana na wa Muthende wakisema wakipita kitu ya kwanza kuondoa itakuwa ni basari. Wanasema ati basari ni kidogo, haitoshi, wacha iondolewe. Naye wa Muthende anasema inawezekana watoto wote wapate basari, na atatumia CDF, pesa ya CDF kuhakikisha hakuna mtoto amekosa basari. Na amesema vile vile hata CDF isipotosha, ako na marafiki wengi watamsaidia ndio aanzishe special bursary fund ya watoto wote wa Mbeere North. Kila mtoto wa Mbeere North asome. Mimi nataka niwaelezee wananchi wa Mbeere North, serikali itatoa usalama wa kutosha kuhakikisha kwamba wewe na familia yako utaenda upige kura kwa amani na urudi nyumbani uendelee na shughuli zako. Hakuna mtu ako na ruhusa ya kukulazimisha ati usiende kupiga kura. Kura ni hiari yako na ni haki yako. Haiwezi nunuliwa, haiwezi zuiwa, ni haki yako ya kiumungu. Mungu ndiye amekupatia hiyo haki. I want to assure you there will be total and complete security across Mbeere North on Thursday to make sure every young person, every old person, every man, every woman can go to the polling station and vote peacefully and go back home. Na wale wamekuja hapa na vijana, sijui vijana 200 hapa wako na majembe na silaha. Wacha tupimane nguvu yenu na nguvu ya serikali ya Kenya. I dare you. I dare you. Kwa sababu mmekuja hapa na mnafikiri mtaleta fujo ndio wananchi waogope kwenda kwa kupiga kura haki yao. Mujaribu Thursday. Kabla ya saa 12 tutakuwa tumemalizana na nyinyi.
Still on the campaign trail, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has cautioned political leaders against engaging in what he termed divisive politics, warning that such conduct risks undermining national unity and stability.
Speaking during a rally and community engagement with the residents of Karerema in Evurore Ward, Kindiki issued a pointed critique of former Deputy President and DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua, urging him to refrain from actions that could disrupt cohesion in the country.
Kindiki said political competition should never supersede the broader interest of Kenyans, calling on leaders across the political divide to prioritize peace, stability, and the well-being of citizens.
He noted that the nation's progress depends on responsible leadership that places unity above personal ambition.
Wewe nani? Wewe nani? Wewe nani? Wachana na mimi bwana. Hautawezana na mimi. Wachana na mimi. Mimi nitakuaibisha. Mimi nitakuaibisha. Wachana na mimi. Aende asiende. Aende asiende. Wacha nione wala anasema wewe ulikuwa mtu mkubwa serikalini. Safari ile ulikuwa mtu mkubwa serikalini. Ulipata bahati ukakuwa deputy president. Baada ya kuleta maandamano kwa chama chetu cha UDA, wakati ilisemekana wewe hautoshi mboga, ikasemekana uwezi kuwa naibu wa rais, ukatufanyia maandamano. Na kwa sababu sisi ni watu ya amani, tukasema kwa sababu tunataka serikali tushinde. Hatutaki kuvurugana. Sisi tukakuachia kiti, ukakuwa deputy rais. Hiyo miaka miwili haujawahi kukanyanga Mbeere North ukiwa na kirauni. Haujawahi kukutafutia hata barabara, haujawahi kututafutia maji, haujawahi kututafutia stima, haujajenga hata shule moja, haujajenga hata kanisa moja. Saa ile umefukuzwa kwa sababu ya kimbelembele, kwa sababu ya kiherehere. Saa hii ndio unakuja kutuita ndoito. Ulikuwa wapi siku ile? Ulikuwa kwa kiti la ungetumia hiyo kirauni kusaidia watu ya Mbeere North. Baada ya Thursday tutabaki tukiwa jamii moja, tutabaki tukiwa ndugu na dada. Wewe mtu ya mitego, wewe mtu ya kisirani, wacha kuleta mambo ya kuchafua wananchi hapa na kupiganisha wananchi. Sisi tumeshaamua. Mbunge wetu ni leo wa nani? Ati leo wa nani? Barabara siendelee, siendelee. Sasa umekuja hapa unaingia kicheni ya kina mama. Unakuja hapa ununui hata wananchi au wanunuli chai. Ati unawaambia huna pesa. Sema wewe ni mchoyo. Hakuna mtu ana pesa ambaye amefanya kazi, amepata elimu, Mungu amekubariki. Badala ya kununua chai kwa majirani wako, unawaambia hauna pesa. Ati wewe kazi yako ni kunywa chai ya kina mama na unatoka bure. Niseme nisiseme? Niseme nisiseme? Niseme nisiseme? Si mimi nimekunywa chai hapa kwa huyu mama anaitwa Virginia Mukami, huyu mama Gloria. Si nimekunywa chai hapo? Si nimelipa? Nimelipia wale wengine pia. Wewe unakunywa chai una.
And the leader of the Democracy for Citizens Party, DCP, Rigathi Gachagua, has accused the police officers and government authorities of intimidation and excessive force during his campaign visit to Narok Town on Monday, where he had gone to drum up support for the DCP candidate for Narok Town ward, Douglas Masikonde.
According to Gachagua, his convoy was blocked by hundreds of police officers who mounted a roadblock along the Narok-Bomet Road at Al-Mashariani, preventing him from accessing Narok Town through the main route.
He said the obstruction was a deliberate attempt to disrupt his movement and interfere with his campaign activities.
Despite the setback, the former DP said he managed to reach Narok Town using alternative routes.
His team, however, encountered tear gas and groups of stone-throwing youth along the way, in incidents he described as clear signs of a tense and hostile political atmosphere. In
an address to residents, Gachagua strongly condemned the alleged acts of police brutality, terming them undemocratic and a violation of citizens' rights to participate freely in political processes.
Hii ujinga mumefanya leo ndio itafanya Masikonde apite asubuhi. Si ndio? Si ndio? Atapita. Mimi nimeona hii siasa ya kasongo ya ujinga, ya fujo, ya kupiga watu mawe ni siasa ambayo imepitwa na wakati. Si ndio? Si ndio? Wangapi wanasema Masikonde. Si ndio? Si ndio? Sisi tutauziwa wanga kweli? Hata mkitupa mawe, kura ya watu ya Narok mtafanyia nini? Si kura muko naye? Si mtapigia Masikonde? Bona wewe Ole Ntutu na Kasongo mnataka kulazimisha watu ya Narok atuwapigie mtu yenu kura? Kwani kura itapigwa na nguvu? Harambee! Harambee! Masikonde anatosha atoshi? Aingie asiingie? Hii ujinga Kasongo muko naye ndio itafanya wewe kuwe one term. Si ndio? Harambee! Harambee! Kasongo ni one term, si one term. Ole Ntutu ni one term, si one term. Masikonde asiingie?
Embu County Senator Alexander Mundigi has called on residents of Mbeere North to maintain peace and reject efforts to incite chaos as their constituency heads into a high-stakes by-election this week.
Addressing the media on Monday, Mundigi emphasized that the unity of the people of Mbeere North is more important than political rivalry, noting that elections come and go, but the community remains.
He urged residents to remain calm and avoid being drawn into confrontations as campaigns intensify.
The senator appealed to voters to elect a candidate aligned with the government, arguing that such a choice would strengthen Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki's ability to secure development opportunities for the region.
Nataka kuongea kuhusu uchaguzi ambaye unaendelea, ile siasa iko mbele North ambaye ya kiti ya mjumbe, na kuna kandidati watatu na wale wako karibu hapa wawili. Mmoja ni wa serikali ambaye anaitwa Leo Muthende, na hiyo mwingine kuna jina ile anaitwa Karish. Ningeomba watu wa mbele North msikumbali kupiganishwa na wale watu wametoka nje, kwa sababu mirengo ni mbili, na mirengo ambaye wa serikali hatuna vita. Mimi niko mrengo wa serikali kwa sababu hii siasa ambayo iko ni by election. Hakuna mambo ya vyama, ni mambo ya candidate yule ataweza kufanya kazi kwa kipindi ya miaka 2. Na kwa sababu mbele North iko wakati kulikuwa by election, mkatusaidia tukapata vitu mingi. Mimi naomba muweze kujitokeza siku ile ya Alhamisi tarehe 27, muweze kuchaguana, muweze kupata mjumbe ambaye atalete maendeleo. Na agenda yetu nikiwa senator wa Embu County ile nafanya niwe kwa mlengo wa serikali. Kuna kazi ambaye haijamalizika ambaye serikali imeahidi sisi, mambo ya stima katika mashinani na mambo ya parapara katika mashinani, na pia mambo ya pesa ambaye ni ambassador ya CDF ambaye mwananchi aweze kupata zile pesa, na pia mambo ya afya na vitu vingine. Ningeomba wale watashindwa wakumbali matokeo, kwa sababu wameanza kusema kuna rigging, mambo mingi tunasikia sasa. Wanasema atakuja na shopa. Ni kushtua sisi, msijali. Watu wa mbele South, watu 55,000 mjitokeshe muweze kuchagua Leo wa Muthende.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja appeared before the Senate Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations to provide explanations on the use of development funds for the year 2022-2023 fiscal year.
Among the issues discussed, Governor Sakaja detailed the county's debt repayment plan, noting a reduction of outstanding liabilities from 118 billion to 86 billion shillings to date.
He further highlighted that the digitization of payment systems within Nairobi County has significantly improved revenue collection, raising the county's income from approximately 10 billion to 13.8 billion.
Governor Sakaja assured the committee that the reforms and prudent financial management measures implemented by the county government are aimed at enhancing transparency, efficiency and accountability in the use of public funds.
Money through the National Assembly to settle those bills. So the pace is not quick, and that delays handing over. And even when I said we have no stalled projects, if you look at what I've listed, a lot of them are what had remained under NMS that is now being brought back to us, and then before my time. Yeah, but within our time, all projects have been funded. Further to that, Senator Chair, there are no projects that we have said should not be completed from previous administrations. It will be a great disservice to Nairobians if the second governor abandons all the projects initiated by the first governor. And then the third governor, now you know we've had a few in Nairobi, that I say I didn't like the previous one and I leave his projects. Chair, we started with Governor Kidero's projects that were not concluded. The one which is really for me a painful one is
Thank you for watching. Remember, this is Morning Live and this is EBN TV. Remember, we've been talking about the nominations that we've been put into for the Tukuza Awards, and to vote for EBN TV, kindly do the pay bill number, which is 41411245, and account number or nominee ID is TK456. The same pay bill number for 41411245 and 45 TK457 for Radio Mshindi. Thank you for watching, and before we move into the newspaper review, there are some of the things that we need to keep on opening more to you, and we're looking at the issue of Kindiki being the deputy president, and he's drumming support for the aspirant, MP or MP aspirant for Mbeere North, who is Leonard Wamuthende, and sometimes it's politics, and sometimes it's also not good to keep on branding people names that sometimes may not exactly look, or even try to name shame, or even try to body shame someone in a way of maybe trying to take advantage of yourself. Now, we're looking at how Wamuthende is going viral negatively, and the name Wamuthende it's not going viral because of the developments that this Leonard has done for the people of Mbeere North, because most of the people now is the item that they're just hearing of the name Wamuthende. But we're looking at the future, whereby are we going to achieve or even get what we want from such a leader, or from such an aspirant who maybe is being tarnished from one place to the other. And remember, there is a point where he changed his name because of maybe the corruption or even the bad deeds that he was involved into. And then the name is coming in, going viral through maybe what seems not to be so popular, pushing the agenda that people need in the same constituency. So I mentioned of Kindiki, the deputy president, who is drumming up support for him, and he's been camping in the constituency for almost 3 weeks now, and he's doing so to make sure that UDA party, not UNDA, it's UDA party, that clinches the MP seat in Mbeere North. Now, Cynthia, we are here, and we're looking how the narrative, the political narratives are moving, and it all started from long ago, but it came with the impeached former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua with very strong narratives and terms, and it also came to, it's like it is kind of infectious, whereby it catches you, it comes to me, and it goes to someone else. Now we're looking at it's like these political people copy statements from one person to the other, and now what we're hearing on our ears and on the hair every time is Wamuthende, ni Wamuthende, si Wamuthende, sijui ni fire, si fire. And I'm asking whether these narratives or these kind of slogans, will they mush, or even will these slogans change someone from what they are after they get into government, then they deliver to these people?
I mean, political rhetorics is one thing, and I think politicians always have mastered the art of political rhetorics, and just the things that they say during the rallies or catchy lines. It's all part of communication as well. What is that kind of communication that you want when people go home, remember in the head? And that's why we've got the one-term chants, the two-term chants, you've got the Wamuthende chants, you've got, chants that perhaps are also within the DCP camp and in the rallies that they have been to. And so this, just really sets the stage rolling. And as we began the show, I said, the campaigns are done, so it is now up to the voters for the next, for today and tomorrow, to make a decision on who exactly they want. Illegally, it is illegal for any aspirant to try and do any groundwork mobilization at this point, or try to converge people wherever, or to try even any form of campaign. It will be illegal, and this is likely to lead to a much more serious possession at the ballot. So it's going to be 2 days of a lot of I'd say meditation for voters in these various constituencies to ensure that they make the right decision. Remember, whoever you're putting into office will be key for the next 1 year to try and push for development agenda, especially for constituencies which have not had representation even from 2022. And so it is important that you put a leader who's going to focus actually on the development aspect of it more, because truth be told, 2027 will be here as well in a blink of an eye, and they'll be back on the roads again. So they've got only about 1 year and a few months to actually do something meaningful in the wards, in the constituencies, as well as at the Senate.
And I'm looking at, there is a kind of survey that is done, and I'm looking at 20% of young people saying that they won't vote because, number one, they don't see a credible leader, or they don't see a credible candidate. And number one, the process of election is still not credible. Yeah. And that's 17% of young people, 20%, 42% are saying that maybe we're not voting because even if we vote, it's already done and sealed that we already have someone in position. And as we're looking at the by-elections that are taking place Thursday 27th, is we keep saying that's a litmus paper for or a litmus paper test for 2027 general elections, whereby what will be done on 27th, or rather actually what has been coming through or even coming out as a result of these campaigns. It's a replica of what will be taking place during the 2027 general elections and the official campaign period before we get to the D-Day of the general elections. So we're looking at a place whereby these pictures, and we saw Natembeya was attacked on Saturday, and on Sunday Mutusi was attacked in Machakos, and we saw yesterday Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was also attacked. So we're looking at what is being painted from just the small by-elections from 21 constituencies, and we're looking at that, and this is the same thing which will come 2027. The same note. The same things, the same feelings that we have maybe for vote rigging and such kind of handlings and abductions and extrajudicial killings and such bad things. I think the same thing will take place when it comes to 2027. So Cynthia, we're expecting that 2024 June, July, that is when we saw Gen Z's stage protests against the finance bill, and we got some terms and some brandings from the same, that these are leaderless, they are partyless, they are what, such kind of characteristics, or even such kind of paintings for the youth from the leaders that we have now. And we said that youth is about 60% of Kenya's populations, and Kenya's population. And what we're seeing here is 42% say that we won't vote because the posts are already done and someone is put in place, and 20% and 17%. So this is to mean actually 100% is almost over. So we'll be voting, and we want to put leaders in place that we can see credibility, leaders that we can see transparency, and leaders that can have developmental focus on this country.
Right, indeed, and you know, it's such a huge figure, that 42%. Yeah. If we're able to just do proper mathematics with the total number of youths that we have in this country, and for them to say that they are not really interested is a huge red flag, and it's a question of what has changed in between June, July 2024 and now. Yeah. What exactly has changed? Have the leaders done justice to the Constitution? Have the leaders listened to their voices and what it is that they want to change in society? And so at this point, I believe it's also about perhaps voter education and civic education on what it means for a young person to actually vote. The scenario I saw with 2022 is that majority of them didn't go to the ballot, and then come a few years later and they say, no, I didn't vote, and I feel so bad I didn't vote. Perhaps my vote would have changed something. So that kind of regret is something that needs to be changed, as well as the importance of that civic education. It's a constitutional duty. You're not doing a leader a favor. You're not doing yourself a favor. You're actually doing something that the Constitution has mandated you to do. And so that is something that we'll be looking as well, especially with these by-elections. You know, we were having a conversation here yesterday with some of the leaders, the analysts, and we talked about what it would mean to have young people within this by-election actually come out and vote. And this would perhaps signal to what will be in 2027, that we've got 100,000 people. That's a big figure. Let me go with 20,000 people in this particular constituency who voted. Out of this, perhaps the biggest turnout would have been the youths. And that would have been something quite important for people to be able to analyze and say, okay, something has changed, and how now do we keep that momentum going into 2022, into 2027? As you rightly put it, this will be a reflection of what is to come in very, very many aspects, and we'll also be talking a bit about that as well as link it with what the Standard has headlined this morning.
Yeah, and moving from the issue of Kindiki, and we also have the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the former, and he's drumming up support for Newton Kariuki, popularly known as Newton Karish. Is a secular musician from Mbeere, and is the MP aspirant for the same constituency. And now we're looking at a lot of heckling that is coming up from maybe from the current Deputy President Kithure Kindiki to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, whereby we're looking at a lot of threats coming out from Kindiki to Gachagua, which, number one, I feel we have to have a stand as a people, and I think everyone has got their rights to politics, if at all they're not getting into someone's rights, or even they're not doing excesses. And we saw Gachagua being attacked, and he had a tour in Narok, drumming up support for Masikonde. And we saw that the government or the state deployed a lot of police officers to the same region, trying to cover and block former Deputy President from going to campaign or even drum up support for Masikonde and in Narok. And now, and Gachagua is talking, is appealing to IEBC to make sure that they actually, it's not about appealing, it's about questioning the IBC why they have been so quiet about such kind of attacks, and that they have to be, I think they have to have a big control over such things happening. If someone misbehaves, if you go beyond what IBC requires you to do as an aspirant, I think there are some fines that you're supposed to have, or even that should be put into you if you're not behaving as you're supposed to behave. So simply I feel that we're not moving into the right direction as a country, if at all it's official that I'm supposed to be campaigning, but if I go to campaign in a certain region, I'm attacked, and brutally attacked. I'm blocked from entering such or maybe such a place, and which I'm in the region where I'm supposed to be, and the region is Kenya, and I'm not allowed to be in that place. And these people I'm going to maybe, or even I'm asking for their votes. They are people in this country. They are the right voters who I should be asking the voters from. Then you're blocked from doing that, and you're attacked. Suppose you attacked directly as a person. What is the thought of this person who is attacking you? They want to eliminate you. They want to terminate your dream. They want to terminate all that you are doing. So I think IEBC, in my own view, we're not supposed to be doing this as a country, and we saw what is ended in Tanzania just few days ago. And the same thing is like the main candidate who was and who is Suluhu Hassan is trying to bar every competitor and every aspirant from moving into the people. It's like they blocked and even jailed some of them. And I'm looking at what maybe is happening here. It can also look the same, because if I can attack you, jailing you is easier than attacking you. Yeah. So IBC, I think, should take charge and control of all this happening. Yeah,
and it is quite interesting that that headline has been, headline on the Standard, a partisan IEBC. Yeah. This essentially means that they've already taken a side, and they've already sort of preempted what path that they would like to take. Yeah. For instance, the response that we saw in a Kasipul constituency, where the IBC has been leading at the forefront in terms of trying to quell the violence that we saw in Kasipul constituency. Unfortunately, about 2 people dead, police officers hacked. I mean, there's just so much chaos, and the candidates were actually fined each about a million shillings and want, to be at the forefront in calling for peace. And so the constitution mandates that. Okay, let's just start from the beginning. Yeah. What is IBC in full? It's the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Yeah. So the word independent should not just be on the name, should be a mantra, should fall through all to the end. It should be an independent body. Now, there have been a lot of questions over the years on the fact that whether it is independent, because after all, it's being funded by government, and so they're likely to be people that may want to intimidate IEBC to go a certain way, to behave a certain way, to make decisions a certain way. But it should not be a partisan IEBC. It should be a bipartisan IEBC. This means it has not taken a side, and whether or not a government candidate or an opposition candidate faces some sort of hurdle, some sort of violence, they need to respond promptly. Now, the allegations made by the DCP party leader, Rigathi Gachagua, against the IEBC vice chairperson Fatima are actually quite serious. Those are allegations that are quite serious, and I'd be curious to understand what is the response that comes from IEBC, especially concerning this, because the vice chairperson has been accused of being at the center of trying to make the Magarini by-elections results already predetermined and head a certain way. And so we've listened to Gachagua at the start of the bulletin and some of the accusations and why he feels this way. But IEBC has got a very huge task ahead, and this is also a test for them. It's not just a test for the political players in this point, but it's also a test for them on how do they conduct these elections, how do they deal with grievances. As we speak, it should have already reached out to that particular camp of DCP to find out why would you table this kind of allegations. What do we need to do to restore trust, to ensure that the perception does not change. Now, some of the analysts, have talked about IEBC needs to start on a clean slate. Let's forget about the past. But really, we are here because of the past actions of IEBC. That is why we are at this particular point. And if Kenyans feel like those past issues have not been resolved, then they have no reason to trust that the same referee would do a very commendable job in these by-elections and would also do a commendable job in 2027. So the chairperson, Erastus Edung Ethekon, has got a huge role to play. Now, if you look at the headline on the Standard, there's sort of like a takeaway from a newspaper that they've published before on the people that you're seeing in those IEBC offices did not just come from nowhere, and that somebody somehow pushed and sent them to those particular offices. So it's also about public perception at this particular point. Now, the violence that was witnessed in Narok, was witnessed in Chwele Kabuchai, was witnessed against Mwingi Mutuse. These are tensions and political violence that need to be condemned by all stakeholders, whether you're government or anti-government, because there's no need for a lot of tension. Yes, we understand a lot is at stake. It's about UDA, DCP. It's about Ruto and whether he can get a second term. It's about Gachagua and the opposition camp on whether they can actually dethrone. But it should not be at that particular kind of cost where a person is injured, a person is shot dead. I mean, really, that should not be the way. Yeah,
and it's very unfortunate for someone to say, if you don't bring that seat, please don't come back to maybe Nairobi. That's very bad, and that's so much uncalled for in this country. And as we move out from the bulletins, Cynthia, there is a very interesting story that we've seen from Nairobi County's county boss, Johnson Sakaja. And he's saying that after some few things have been put into adjustments, we've seen the revenue collections moving up from 10 billion to 13.8 billion. Now, we're looking at this, and we've been talking about graft and corruption for some good time. And we're looking at a lot of people and a lot of leaders and political leaders taking advantage of all that comes in as a revenue to this country. And maybe we cannot account for what comes in, and you cannot say this went out and this is how it brought in. This is what you can see as a people. And I'm looking at a place and Simbo, actually, when it comes to infrastructure, I'm looking at how the rise from 10 billion to 13.8 billion is coming in, and how effective is it, and what we can see from the rise, and that's almost a 3.8 billion increase, and we don't see any impact, we don't see anything coming in. Actually, what is sounding so loud is the issue of affordable housing, the issue of SHA, the issue of minette and such things, maybe, and they're not taking the right stride to fulfillment or even to make sure that these things are accomplished. Now, go to or even come to Nairobi CBD and look at the potholes along the main roads, along the main streets in CBD. And I'm looking at it whereby there are some structures that should be put in permanently, and there are some repairs that should be done so perfectly in certain spots of the main streets in Nairobi town. And we are told that the revenue is moving up. A clear indication that development should be moving in line with what we're getting as revenue.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Nairobi, the geographical location really is everything. Number one, this is a capital city.
Yes.
Any visitor that comes to Kenya, the first stop is likely to be JKIA, if not, at the port of Mombasa. It's likely to be at JKIA. Look at more the international organizations that are situated in Nairobi, hundreds and hundreds of them, some actually within Africa headquartered in Nairobi. So it's quite a very important city or an important county, and that's why it will have the attention and the focus that it does in terms of how much is coming in, how much is being utilized. But I think if you look at that session at the Senate yesterday, there was a lot of confrontation between senators as well as the Nairobi County governor, especially in terms of where this money is going, especially money that is coming in terms of taxes. There was a memo that was put out by the county government a few weeks, or should be a few days ago, where money would have been directed from a Tier 1 bank to a Tier 3 bank. I wouldn't mention the banks, but that means, it's moving from a very well commercialized bank, popular, known, it's got good, I'd say, structures, to a bank that is at the lower tier, and yet it's dealing with this amount of money, huge amounts of money from the county government. So that was also one of the issues that was at stake. But let's talk about really whether or not the money reflects in the actions within Nairobi. If it rains right now,
you'll have to pull your car.
You have to as well pull your trousers up because it's going to flood. So we've got drainage systems that are still a problem year in, year out. What are we doing to work on that? We've got majority of slums as well in Nairobi. What are we doing to ensure that these people actually get decent, houses, that these people actually can have access to roads? Yes, they may be in the slums, but can we even access these people through the road networks? Talk about the painting of buildings. I saw that is an issue that was happening, beautifying Nairobi, where landlords were given a deadline to do that, and some of them didn't do it and were able to be shut down, and that some are still in court as well. So there's a lot of aspect in play as well. When you walk in the streets, talk about security. There was a time we were talking about a lot of insecurity within Nairobi city as well. Especially the central business district, a lot of mugging was taking place. So what are we doing to ensure that we make these streets safe? Do we have proper street lighting? Do we have proper road networks to allow us, conduct businesses? So there are a lot of aspects to it on just why Nairobi is very key in terms of developing a nation. And so, we've seen a lot of governors who have had wars, especially in this office. I mean, talk about Evans Kidero, talk about Mike Sonko, talk about Anne Kanano. So it has not been easy for any governor, and it wasn't guaranteed that it will be easy for Sakaja as well.
Okay, but sometimes it's all about kujituma for this country, because it's such a huge amount of money and we don't see anything coming in, and we find street children just around every point of Nairobi CBD, and this is to mean you're not secure. There are some times of the day and maybe of the night that maybe you won't be able to move safely along those streets. Now moving on to the Standard newspaper, it's all about partisan IBC, and we've talked much about the issues of IBC and the reconstitution of the IEBC was meant to redeem an electoral agency long tainted by state interference and timid leadership. But days before by-election seen as a dress rehearsal for the 2027 general election, the Commission is already struggling to shake off doubts that dogged its formation. It declared a Huda candidate despite EACC advice. Some officials have been accused of bias, and the opposition is warning of state-sponsored violence and poll manipulation. Can Chairperson Ethicon calm the swelling storm? This is a question from the the Standard newspaper. And from the outset, though Kenyans kept quiet, they had every reason to doubt that now this is Ethicon, impartiality or your impartiality in the 2027 general election remained doubtful. You could have used the November 27th by-election to prove Kenyan and the world otherwise. Now, Cynthia, we're looking at during the swearing-in ceremony, not swearing-in, but the pronouncement of who won the 2022 elections, and it was mentioned that the winner is Ruto, the incumbent. Now, you saw what happened from this guy from Masai land who wanted to knock IEBC chairperson Chebukati on the head. I'm trying to forget the name, but it's coming. Yes. Now, we're looking at a picture from that time and this time. Now, we may rest in peace, Wafula Chebukati, but we're taking some pieces from him to now, whereby now the Standard is putting it very clear that we wanted to bring in a new chairperson at the IEBC to make sure that maybe we rub off that has been happening in the system, or that has been happening in the IEBC body. Now we have Ethicon in place, and we mentioned the issue of Muthende. This is Leonard Muthende, and I also mentioned about the issue of graft that Leonard Muthende was involved in. And now, Standard is putting it very clear that IEBC has already put in place, or even has approved UDA candidate, and this is Leonard Muthende. Even after ICC has advised on the same, and they're still pushing in to make sure that our Muthende is still the MP aspirant for Mbeere North. And now it's so questionable that they've done this, and once we saw Ethicon as the new chairperson of IEBC put in place, we knew that everything will be washed clean, every sanctification will be done. But what we're looking at already, we're looking at where Ethicon could have done something very credible, something very straight, something very transparent, to make sure that they don't approve UDA candidate for the MP position in Mbeere North. But now it's done. Now our question is, if this is what the new chairperson is doing, what will these people do when it comes to 2027? How credible is IEBC, and how bipartisan is IEBC? How does IEBC take their candidates? How does it approve candidates? And what are the regulations and rules that IEBC should put in place, and maybe through civic education to people that this is what should be done, and we are not supposed to approve anyone who maybe we feel that this maybe is a corrupt person and they don't fit into any position, not even position, but being a candidate first.
Right, like I mentioned earlier, IEBC has got a lot at stake as well. We've been talking about the politics that are at stake, but also about what is at stake as well for the IEBC, because, you know, they need to be quite bipartisan, as I'd mentioned a bit earlier on. So they've got a lot of work to do within the next 2 or 3 days. The counting of the votes. How are they going to conduct themselves? How are they going to address grievances that may come about? So, like I mentioned earlier, it's quite a long path ahead for IBC, but they can get there if they truly want to, and if the leaders are willing. They're very willing to get there, because the constitution is clear on what they need to do, and it's clear as well on what they need not do. So can they follow the constitution? Yes, but we're looking at this being the first thing or even duty that they are undertaking after they've been put into power. Yeah, now, actually it is the second, because they rolled out the continuous voter registration, so that was one of their duties. This will be the second, and it's also quite important that they're able to get these two activities working simultaneously. Okay, now, Godfathers have it. MPs yesterday did what they have long been accused of doing, rubber stamping an executive decision, this time on the reconstitution of the IBC. While the nominees may tick the boxes on paper, Parliament missed a critical opportunity to restore public trust by failing to meaningfully interrogate their political pasts. A more probing vetting process could have gone a long way in assuring Kenyans that those entrusted with overseeing the 2027 polls are not proxies. Okay, so because of that we won't go. I just want to mention a few things in the Standard, then we move into the Daily Nation. And page 2 of the Standard is talking about Ruto's infrastructure, which is costing 5 trillion. Projects raise questions of transparency. And there's something that I also, from page 4 of the Standard, Kenya pays heavy price for Putin decree to recruit foreign fighters. And maybe page 6 of the Standard, Makongeni residents fight back against abrupt and violent evictions. And maybe the last two, this is page 8, IBC Ethicon under fire as polls tension escalates before elections. And the last one, this is page 9 of the Standard, IBC on the spot for clearing UDA candidate despite corruption probe. Okay, quickly to the Daily Nation. Right, the Daily Nation headline this morning concerns you directly as the Kenyan. The poison in our food, that is the headline this morning. Some fungicides and weed killers outlawed for being carcinogenic and toxic to reproduction. I'll take that again. Some fungicides, weed killers outlawed for being carcinogenic and toxic to reproduction. So the European Union continues to export pesticides it has banned from use within its own borders to African nations, with Kenya being a destination for more than 400 tons of the deadly cancer-causing chemicals, a report by Swiss-based organization reveals. Now, this is quite worrying because whatever is being imported to Kenya is actually not being used in some of these European nations. So the question is, why are we importing them to this country if it is not approved for human consumption elsewhere? So there are a number of them. I may not go all through the list, but about 45 banned chemicals. Now, these are chemicals that are used on things like sukuma wiki, on cabbage, anything that you make, on anything that you may consume. These are the pesticides that are meant to kill, I'd say pests or germs in the foods when they are on the farm. So if they're not fit to be used, and that means they're causing more damage than they should be. They're not just causing damage to the pesticides or the weed or the fungicides, but they're causing damage to the human body. So the poison in our food, more than 400 tons of deadly cancer-causing chemicals are in the market. Now the tons we are talking about, the kilos we are talking about, 473,924 kilos of banned chemicals were imported in the country. That's a huge figure. So EU continues to sell banned pesticides. And who are they selling to? African nations. The biggest beneficiaries includes Kenya. So that is the headline this morning. Now this will be important because these names are quite technical names. So I'd really ask you to find this list so that you may look at this, especially as a farmer, as somebody that consumes food directly from the farm. You import. Take a look at this, this particular list so that you understand what it is that you're talking about. Whatever you're importing, is it something that is good so that we can also reduce the causes of cancer in the country? Now, the top of the page as well talks about IBC. All eyes now on IBC as campaigns wind up. 181 candidates square off for various seats across the country. Also, the Malaysian Prime Minister jetted in the country on Sunday and has backed Ruto's ambition of making Kenya a first world country. Also, TSC announces 9,000 vacancies to replace dead retired tutors. And double tragedy, man who lost home in Mukuru caught up in Makongeni evictions as residents win court reprieve. So the court has put a hold to that for now and says that and has issued temporary orders stopping the ongoing eviction and demolition pending the hearing. Unfortunately for a man who's caught up in 2 evictions now in Mukuru and in Makongeni. So those are some of the stories on the Daily Nation this morning.
Yes, that's great. And Cynthia, I just have a point.
Right.
For the issue of these chemicals we're importing or even that are being brought, but we have different business people around this place who may be importing the same to this country. But now my question goes to the KEBS. And yesterday we talked about people impersonating to be KEBS officials and KRA officials and transacting the business of a legal or even a legitimate KRA and KEBS official. Now, we're looking at the number of chemicals that are just being brought into this country, maybe for farmers. Yeah. And when we talk about farming, it all gets to every person because what you eat comes directly from the farm. Yeah. And also, there is also a chemical that is used for making it easy or even quickening the ripening of bananas and maybe other fruits. Now, if maybe the right time that is taken for that a fruit should take for it to be ready and or even to get ready for consumption, if that time is sped up, I think it has a lot of complications to the health of a person who is consuming the same. And now I'm looking at a place whereby KEBS should be regulating all this is coming in. They should be checking it very strictly to make sure that all that we bring into this country and maybe for the farmers, because actually sometimes I keep on saying that all that we need, and the reason as to why we keep working for is actually stomach. And this is to mean if we do a lot of poisons in our bodies, this is so dangerous and so risky. So this is to mean that we won't be able to develop as a country because a lot of money that we are getting in will be getting into the health issues. And I think KEBS should stand out very strongly and strictly to make sure that they vet and they verify and check very well what is coming in so that we don't have a big loss as a country. Because if you look at this, then the issue of cancer, it's a very a big trigger to the issue of depopulation in this country. Yeah, so we need to be careful. Then the issue of TSC announces 9,000 vacancies to replace dead and retired tutors. And yes, during the national address on Thursday, the president talked about employing 56, actually to have employed 56,000 teachers, and we're looking at other positions that TSC is announcing. So maybe to do it in a better and in a good way, if you're there, you've trained as a tutor, as a teacher, we have got 9 positions. Just grab the copy of the Daily Nation from the top page. You'll be having the detail, actually page 3 of the Daily Nation will have the information, then you apply if you're just supposed to apply. Then the issue of double tragedy, Cynthia. It's very, very hard for you to bring something on the table. And even before, or even bringing something on the table is another thing. Then trying to make sure that you slowly develop yourself into having something and say that one time I used to work for this. And we're looking at this guy from Mukuru, Kwanjenga, who was a victim of eviction sometimes, and yesterday, and maybe this issue started some few days ago, and actually two months ago, and yesterday it was the same, whereby actually this kind of eviction and bulldozers bringing down houses along Jogoo Road, Makongeni area, it is posing a great risk on security to people who are using Jogoo Road. So if the court has put an order that this should be stopped a bit for negotiations, I think the government should keep here open to make sure that they listen to these people, because I want you to imagine since they are going to work, maybe you just being paid maybe 10,000 and you are able to amass just something very small for yourself. Then the government comes in and ramps up on your residential place in the point of paving way for affordable housing. And I'm very sure that this affordable housing, if at all you accomplish what they're supposed to accomplish, it will be a benefit to the citizens of this country. Hakuna ng'ombe itaenda kulala kwa hizo nyumba. So I understand that what we call information was given in due time for them to relocate or even to move into other places. But suppose you don't get enough, you're not well facilitated to make sure that you move into another place, and then these bulldozers comes in before you're ready. What will you do? And you don't have another place to go. And moving from one place to the other, it is so costly and so hectic.
Yeah, it is. It's quite sad, really. I think one of the biggest problems we have in Kenya is that we evict people without giving them alternative solutions, and that is what causes us to go to court to get an order to, to halt the evictions, because you want me to leave, but you're not telling me to where. Yeah. And we just empathize. Losing a home twice, let alone once, is hard enough already, but twice. That is it's quite inhumane. Yeah.
And as someone was saying that sometimes we have to accept change, and change does not easily come in. And they also said that we need to, it's an end of an era, like the construction or even the houses around that region, they are so old, and you have to move, you have to be modernized in a way. And someone was saying that we need to accept change, but I wonder, there are some changes, yes. Adopting or even getting into a new change is not easy, but having change and accepting change is the only way to grow. But there are some things, as you say, they are so inhumane. We have to consider, we have to give at the right time for notice, we have to prepare these people well. Because if you're just moving us from this place to make sure that you just modernize the units, I hope as we go to another place, as we wait this construction to be done, we also need to be taken care of well, so that we don't feel like we are misused and mistreated in a country where we rightfully belong.
Right. So we wrap it up at that point this morning. We hope that you're duly informed on the stories that we've covered for you. And thank you for watching. Keep voting for EBN TV and Radio Mshindi on the Tukuza Awards. We've got about 2 days left, and we hope we can bring this home.
Yeah, and we can do it with your support. Remember, we are nominated as the best Christian TV station of the year and best radio station of the year. So if you are proud of what we're doing, kindly vote for us. And once we bring this victory home, you become a victor together with us. So thank you for watching Morning Live. And after this, we shall have your faith today with Reverend Felix Aboy. Still, please don't go too far.